So, my name is Mark Zimmerman. I am an artist and a writer. I'm going to read two short works. The first took place just recently, and the second took place a few lifetimes ago. The first is called Small Somethings. Small Somethings. I do a good deal of work at an awe-inspiring place, the Susie Kappa Art Center in downtown Rapid City, South Dakota, where great things happen for a group of folks who aren't always afforded great opportunities. The center claims to integrate artists with and without disabilities, helping people see past preconceived notions of disability and honor the creative spirit of every person. Their words. And that is just one of the powerful things, great and small, that happen at Susie Kappa. I count the so-called disabled Susie Kappa artists as friends, and long ago stopped seeing them as other, or their disabilities as more than something inconvenient to overcome. Mary and I are the proud owners of an ever-growing collection of their artwork. I worked at Susie Kappa this week, teaching painting, acrylic on stretched burlap. 2 days ago, I spent my day helping 3 Susie artists paint a couple of sheep. Toward the end of the painting day, one of the artists, we'll call Jane, expressed her fear about the looming unknown buried in the artistic process. Jane says, "I get nervous that I don't know where a painting is going." I reply, "I don't ever know where a painting is going." "Really?" She twists her head and looks me in the eye to see if that is bullshit. "Painting is like exploring," I suggest. Imagine you're an explorer and you don't know ever where you're going. You can't know. Nobody's ever been here or gone there before. But, and this is the thing, you know how to go exploring, so you're okay. There's no need to get nervous. You don't need to know and see where a painting is going, because you know how to paint. You're okay. "Really?" Jane says. "Really. Trust your skills and have faith in what you can do. And you don't need to know exactly what's going to happen." Yesterday I helped 4 Susie artists, Jane among them, paint daisies on burlap. I remind Jane that we're going exploring and know how to do this. She nods, and though she expresses some uncertainty in the beginning, by the end, I'm not doing more than handing her paint and holding her painting back so she can see from a distance and decide what color needs to go where. Her daisies are hers, and Jane's never been more okay with that. She tinkers, occasionally asks what I think, but makes the decisions that are rightfully hers, and eventually declares the painting finished. "You know, Jane, I'm pretty proud of how you worked today. You were an explorer, a painter today, and it shows." "Yeah?" "Yeah. That's an excellent painting, and it's all yours." "Yeah." Jane smiles and nods. I nod and smile too. I did a small something that led to a great thing for someone else. It's a good day, huh, Jane? "Yeah." So the second piece that took place a few lifetimes ago. This is called A Beautiful Bleeding Fart. Red-faced and sweating, Tuba Timmy sits right next to me. The rest of the tubas sit in the row behind us. Trombones sit in front. probably so they don't poke anybody with those slides. I clasp a baritone tightly and sit on the end of the baritones. Thus I can accidentally elbow Timmy. Nobody in the cramped practice room off the main band room can play their instruments. It does not say "screw up band" on our 6th grade class schedules, but our entire focus for 2 weeks has been "Mary Had a Little Lamb." We cannot be said to be making progress. I do like that the baritone features a spit valve and is also capable of producing blatantly fartish sounding tied whole notes. Other than that, I have no use for a baritone. Everyone who took summer band meets later in the day in the main band room. They play music. Every screw-up meets earlier in the hellhole with an outsized horn. Only Timmy is tall and fat enough to suit his instrument, which Mr. Filson says measures over 5 yards in length. Like I care, or that matters one bit. Band sucks. Sheet music lies splayed open on these spraddling 3-legged stands, and we are supposed to read it. The lines and dots apparently compose some code, which affords initiates access to the world of music. Mr. Filson says so. Mr. Filson spends much of his time shaking a thin white stick at us, or at just the trombones, just the baritones, or just the tubas. I'd like to shake a stick at Mr. Filson. My perfection of the blatting wet fart note on the baritone, which I deploy randomly when Mr. Filson turns his back, attained legendary status early in the semester. This irreverence makes me something of a hero in the hellhole, but I suspect Mr. Filson has zeroed in on the source of this sound, and I may soon need a new trick. Mr. Filson says we have a problem with time. I know it certainly does not move fast enough once I enter the hellhole. Last week, Mr. Filson tried to strangle time out of Larry Swanson. Mr. Filson was waving his stick along and suddenly rushed Larry. I'd never seen anybody choked before. Larry's trombone fell to the floor with a tinny clatter, and everyone, except Larry, gasped in horror. Larry wasn't gasping. He couldn't. Mr. Filson grasped him by the neck and pressed Larry up against the side wall on the other end of the room. Frankie Smith said Larry's feet lifted off the ground. I know Larry turned a purpley red before Mr. Filson let him down. For a bunch of 6th grade boys with brass instruments, we sat pretty quietly the rest of the day. I guess Larry cried, but I couldn't see. Mr. Filson spoke to me individually for the first time today. He turned to write in dot code on the lined blackboard and dropped his stick when he reached for the chalk. As he bent clean over and his butt lifted up in the air, I let loose a beautiful bleeding fart through my baritone. Frankie Smith snorted a laugh for just an instant, and I let off the horn in haste because Mr. Filson straightened up real quick and wheeled around, heading straight for me. There's not any quick way up out of a battered steel folding chair with a baritone in your lap, or I might have run for it. Mr. Filson's dusty wingtips spin out, gain traction, and slide to a stop, bumping into my new red Converse All-Stars. I look up at Mr. Filson, a touch unsure. Mr. Filson rips the horn out of my hands, bends down, eyes wild, and growls in my face. "Give me that!" I spent the rest of the period sitting contritely at the end of the baritones next to Tuba Timmy without my horn. After Mr. Filson stashes my baritone, He glares at me and growls, just growls, no words. I think my music career may have come to a close. Thanks for listening.